in your experience, where are women today getting most of their ideas about birth from?
I think there's a variety of sources. One of the ones that concerns me a bit is what they're getting through television and media portrayals of birth. And in particular, One Born Every Minute, I know, is in some women causing a lot of anxiety, especially making them fearful of the first birth experience. So I've heard that through colleagues here in Nottingham who are attached to a post-traumatic stress clinic, except in this context it's before birth, not post-birth. And some of those is to do with kind of experiences and images that they've seen on One Born Every Minute and other related sort of television programs.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind in terms of where, some of the biggest influences are things like One Born Every Minute and programs on the TV. That's my impression, certainly. A friend of mine was head of midwifery in one of the big cities, and she said they would have thousands of applications for midwifery, and the vast majority would put down some kind of birth reality show as one of the influences as to why they wanted to go into midwifery. And I'm quite sure with the scarcity of free antenatal education that's out there, that people that aren't inclined to read are probably more likely to watch these quite ghastly reality programs. When it comes to these programs, what they effectively do is that they impose an experience upon a woman's unconscious mind, if nothing else. So even if they didn't have an idea of what labour and birth were going to be like, they now have an idea based on what they've seen. And by and large, women are on the bed. By and large, women are having all kinds of experiences that may not be yours, the experience that you have, because you're going to have a unique experience that's going to unfold in the moment. What we forget about these programs, of course, is that every woman and their partner who are in the programs have given consent to be filmed. So straight away, we know that this group of women are a group of women that are quite happy to be observed at this point in their life. So it's kind of like a self-selecting group. So if the answer to the question, would you want to be filmed, is no, well, then you're quite likely not to be like this group. So they don't actually represent the vast majority of women that are pregnant.
I feel that there's an absolute fascination at the moment with everything that could go possibly wrong in childbirth, and that's presented in the media, on television, and just in almost about everything we see. I do feel that these images and these stories and TV programmes are adversely affecting our psyche, the psyche of women that believes that she now can't give birth to her baby without there being such huge drama and without there being a need for doctors and medical assistance. And this is such a contrast to when I trained to be a midwife and in my early years as being a midwife, when women, although they were apprehensive about giving birth to their babies, they didn't feel as fearful. And the fear is definitely growing. And I speak to my colleagues around the country that actually do clinics for women that feel that they are fearful or they have tocophobia, and it's definitely increasing in conjunction with the increase in media attention on childbirth. Women like to tell their stories too, and sometimes those stories are very graphic, and women have actually had an indeed very traumatic childbirth experience. And when they pass on that information to other mothers through the media, because it's so accessible, then again, it's just reiterating this sort of culture that it is always negative.
Quite profound, really. I mean, we've got research that says that those expectations shape experience quite profoundly. But there are other factors that they encounter when they enter the maternity care system that also influence dramatically. And one of those is where birth happens. So there's loads and loads of data showing that women who birth in home birth and midwifery units have more kind of low-tech natural births. Pretty consistent evidence right across the world that says that. It's also shaped by their encounters with the healthcare professionals. Again, really good data that midwives and doulas, for example, tend to facilitate more normal birth. But if you encounter obstetric facilities or obstetric individuals, especially in private maternity care, which we don't have much of in this country, hardly at all, but in other high-income countries there's a lot of it, then intervention rates are way up in those models, caesarean rates, escalating above 50%. So you can come with the previous ideas, but the way that you experience antenatal care can have quite a profound impact on shaping decisions and expectations for birth.
Let's be totally frank. What we believe, consciously and unconsciously, directs our behaviour. And the ideas that are directing our behaviour most profoundly are those ones we forgot that we have. So they're the beliefs that are happening outside of awareness. They're directing our behaviour. That's the first thing I think is worthy of comment. The second thing, of course, is that our frame of reference dictates our experience in the moment. Now, in the 20-odd years since I've been qualified, in 1994 I qualified, when there was 61 male midwives out of 36,000, and now there's 100, so it hasn't been a growth area. Yeah, so I've been qualified around about 20-odd years, and over that period of time, I've noticed something significant. It's very anecdotal, so there's no evidence or no research. Women that have experienced severe period pain and have been medicated for it sometime in their lifetime almost invariably come into the hospital or ring a midwife to attend them when their labour is advanced. So often, when I'm speaking to a woman on the phone, I'll talk to her about her tightenings. And the key question I ask her is, have you been medicated at any time for severe period pain? If they say yes, I know for sure that I need to encourage them to come into the hospital pretty much. Why? Well, because their reference experience is severe period pain. So they're having these tightenings, these urges in the uterus, and they're going, hold on a minute, this can't be labour. Because when I compare it to that, this can't be it. And they turn up and they're 8 or 9 or 10 centimetres or bearing down, and they're going, hold on a minute, this can't be it, because it doesn't compare at all to that. Now, that tells me something quite significant. It tells me that our expectations about the pain dictate our experience of the pain. Now, even the word pain is not helpful, in my opinion. Because when I say the word pain, it sends a woman on an internal journey to reference what pain means for her. And by and large, it will be the worst kind of pain she's ever had before. And she'll be thinking, oh my God, this is going to be worse than that. So it sets up the prospect of a painful experience. So often when I'm talking to women antenatally, I'll liken, obviously I've got no idea about contractions because I'm a man. And I have no idea. I never had period pain. So I'm only ever guessing. But what I'll say is this. The uterus is a muscle. So when this muscle tightens, contracts, it's going to be more akin to that kind of feeling you get when you lift weights, when you feel the tension of a muscle in the arm. So I'm setting up the opportunity for her to have a referencing experience that's different from pain.
I think there's a huge case for sort of the over-dramatisation of a birth experience, definitely, across mainly television, and you read lots of stories in newspapers that are always quite scary. So I think generally the tone would be quite negative, very clinical. But I have to say, if you have a strong support network around you, then you can turn that around quite quickly. So I learned a lot from my mum, from my grandmother, as well, about their sort of birth experiences, and gave me a bit of a reality check. So yeah, I think generally it's pretty negative in our culture.
I think subconsciously anyway, it sort of made me doubt my ability to have the birth that I was hoping for. You have in your head how you'd like it to be, but the images are reinforcing, the images that you see sort of in public and in the media are reinforcing a very different experience. And I suppose even after having had a positive first birth experience, I was having sort of a lack of confidence the second time around because it was a multiple pregnancy.